Even Suzo had gone stone cold in shock. During all her time in combat, she'd never seen a one-sided slaughter like this. She'd experienced this when they fought, but Kagri seemed to feel no fear or pain. She simply focused on all her energy on killing her opponent. It was often said that humans unconsciously avoided using all their muscle power to protect their own bodies, but Kagri seemed to lack that capability. There's a difference between using your full capabilities and getting fucking shot. These rounds are enough to tear her arms into shreds. She wouldn't be able to use them after getting shot like 3 times. Just now she'd stabbed a man who turned to run from her in the back, then tossed his huge body to the ground with only a single arm. Then she kicked his stomach from below and ruptured his organs, killing him. You just have to put like 6 rounds into her chest and she's going to die. Finally, after several, perhaps a dozen or more of the men had been killed, what remained of the squad started to scream orders at one another. With terrifying reflexes, she dodged between their shots and brutally murdered even several more. She's dodging bullets now? Okay. But... okay, if it's that many rounds going into her, she's dead. At last, a hail of gunfire struck her left hand, and the knife she was holding fell to the floor. No, that wasn't it. It wasn't that the knife fell, it was that her entire left hand. Okay. The shot caused her body to stagger back. Someone screamed in a voice that lacked any of the pride and bravery of a soldier is supposed to possess. And several more bullets dug into her body, and she's dead. Parts of the motorcycle suit ripped open, the helmet cracked. Blood that was clearly her own, not that of the men she'd killed, began to pour out. At last, she fell into one on the pile of corpses. They must have thought they finally had her. One of the survivors pointed his gun down to finish her, and just as he was about to pull the trigger... oh, she's still alive! Keep firing! Her bestial roar and the man's terrifying scream overlapped in a horrible cacophony. Okay, what? She forced herself to leap up and brought the back of the remaining cleaver down onto his arm, knocking him back. In an instant, the knife slit his throat and into his life. Why? Fire! That's stupid! She's on the ground! The survivors began to flee in terror. You keep shooting her! There's no point! Okay, whatever. Brilliant tacticians over there. What the fuck's wrong with you people? Jesus. You're winning. Oh. Of course. And when I reached Radicon, I realized that many people in the crowd of pedestrians were holding their phones up to the sky. There was evidently no service near the station either. It took a moment to catch my breath as I looked up at Radicon. I could hear what sounded like a distant explosion. It wasn't just one. The explosions were coming in a series. Several of the people around me were glancing at their surroundings, confused by these unfamiliar sounds. And then I realized that was gunfire. I remembered the sounds I'd heard during the battle between CERN's rounders and the Russian military. The sounds were coming from the roof of Radicon. Had I not made it in time, I ran into Radicon. And for some reason, the elevator was under maintenance and turned off. Well, that's really convenient. I had no choice but to take the stairs. My heart was pounding so fast that I thought it would burst, and I tripped several times due to how tense I was. I stumbled again and again on the stairs. How many times did I come up these stairs feeling like this? Cursing my lack of endurance, I headed to the top floor. When I got to the 7th floor, I ran into someone I'd hoped I wouldn't see. Professor! No, my guess that I'd run into them was right. I wish that I wasn't, but... Hey, Professor.
Yeah, Rintaro. Masaka konani hayaku. Kimi ga kuru to wa omanakatta yo.
I could say the exact same thing, actually. Dr. Luskin perturbed when he saw my face. Seemed perturbed.
どうしてここに
少し落ち着きなさい。そんなに息が切れていたのでは話もできないよ。
どうしてここにいるんです。アマデウスはどうなったんです。
君に頼んだサンプリングテストは半年前に終わっている。話すことはできないな。
That was his answer. Even though Amadeus had disappeared, Leskinen was extremely calm. There was no sign of him trying to deal with the problem, and instead of being in his office, he was here. That was all I needed to know.
クリスが俺に送ってきたメッセージの内容は本当だったんですね。
The father that she'd spoken of was Leskinen after all.
クリスや魔法どうしたんです。彼女たちの記憶データを解析してタイムマシンに関するデータを取り出すつもりな。
驚いたな。クリスはそこまで君に話してしまったのか。監視していたつもりだったが、いつの間にそんな真似を。
When you let her connect to the internet. Leskinen seemed truly shocked, which meant he hadn't noticed that Carissa was an ad channel, or that she'd spoken to me there. Oh. And then Leskinen took out a gun and pointed it at me. Can I urge you to reconsider this course of action?
君は少し踏み込みすぎたようだ。
Oh my, don't do the fucking thing.
あなたは
科学者だよ。だが科学者も実践授業ではないのでね。
That's fair.
君はストラテジック・フォーカス社というアメリカの民間情報機関を知っているかな。
ストラテジック・フォーカス社アメリカのストラトフォーカ。
I'd read about them on a conspiracy theory website. I remembered reading that they'd acquired top secret information on Russian ballistic missiles that even the CIA couldn't get and sold it. The result was the destruction of the CIA's reputation, and at the same time, the total reorganization of Russia's military strategy. I had even seen rumors that during the Gulf and Iraq wars, they'd obtained information about the warring countries faster than anyone and spread it as needed.
世界から影の CIA などと呼ばれているのが
Please say CIA more. So he was going to use Amadeus for military purposes. Was everything he'd said at that seminar just platitudes and lies?
私のことはどうでもいいだろう。それよりリンタロウ、勝美から聞いたのだ
Let
が
me guess, she's dead.
君も例の新型脳炎を発症しているそうだね。
I figured he would have like dissected her brain already.
それどころか新型脳炎そのもののメカニズムについて実に興味深い。君の持つその情報を
Sure, if you don't
ぜ
shoot
ひ
me.
提供してくれないか。何簡単な施術を受けてくれるだけでいいんだ。
I can just willingly give you information.
そうすれば私は君を助手として迎え入れてもいい。
For some reason, my whole body broke out in goosebumps at the word procedure. The Dr. Leskinen I knew, the man with the childlike, mischievous heart and deep scientific curiosity, the man who'd been so kind to me, the man I'd respected, was gone. In his place was the cruel, scientific fundamentalist who thought nothing of human lives or hearts as he pointed a gun at me. Or was this who he truly was? Suddenly he seemed like a terrifying unknown. He took a step towards me. And then... Another fierce gunfight broke out above. Leskinen clicked his tongue at the sound. He glanced toward the stairs. I took advantage of the distraction. Luckily, I was still on the staircase. I tackled his legs as hard as I could, and he lost balance and fell. Ow. He hit his head hard on one of the steps, and after a moment's jerk, stopped moving at all. Oops. He might be dead. But I didn't care anymore. I'd become a murderer many times over already. Bye. Take his gun. When I opened the door, what I saw was a vision from the heart of hell itself. There's blood everywhere and bodies too. In the middle of the sea of blood was a girl in a motorcycle suit and helmet, covered in crimson as she lay in the ground. She held a giant cleaver. I could see instantly that she was responsible for this disaster. Her shoulders moved up and down a little, so evidently she was still alive. I approached the woman, trying my best not to throw up from the stench. Why are you approaching her? She has a cleaver, and there's blood all around her.
大丈夫
Yeah,
Mama.
put a round in her head. I could hear her voice from beneath the cracked, broken helmet. I looked closer and saw that some of the blood was her own. Her body was racked by bullet wounds, and her left hand was completely gone. It was a miracle she would somehow survived all that. She wouldn't. She'd be dead. Except somehow brainwashing makes her super powerful and immune to bullets. She didn't seem to notice as she slowly crawled through the blood. I followed Mayuri and saw. I followed her gaze and saw Mayuri huddled beneath the time machine. Suza seemed to be unhurt, but there was blood on Mayuri's face.
Mayuri!
I hadn't expected to see her here, and I was worried about her wound, but more than anything, I'm glad she was safe. She raised her face when she heard my voice, but at the next moment her eyes locked on the girl in the motorcycle suit. She saw the thing crawling toward her and screamed, yeah, he should.
ママ違うの
You didn't want to kill her, shut up.
だってかがりは本当は人殺しなんてするつもりじゃなくってただママを守ろうとして
I think it's more the fact that you're absolutely disgusting to look at right now. Kaguri? Did she say Kaguri? It was then that I realized that the girl in the motorcycle suit was the Shina Kaguri that Suza had been looking for.
なさいママかがりもういい
Suza yelled unable to take
もう
anymore.
いいから動くな死ぬぞお前
She tried to kill you twice.
かがりはねママに
Hell, you
怖い
probably
思
say
いを
3
させようなんて思ってなかったんだよ本当だよかがりはただママを助けなくちゃってだからママお願いママごめんなさい許して
At last her strength failed and she collapsed. I returned to my senses and ran to her before Suza could get there.
おい大丈夫か
Oh, wait. What? Okay. This is trying to separate the fact that he didn't get attacked by her. Or, no, he did. Right? No. This is way before. Because I'm thinking of, like, the first time she attacked in the other world line. Okay. Her breathing was wheezy and shallow. One of the bullets had probably pierced her lungs. I think all of her organs would be pierced at this point. I thought about taking off her helmet. It would help her breathe, so I put my hand on it to remove it, but she grabbed my hand and pushed it away.
いややめて取らないでママと鈴葉お姉ちゃんの前では
Why?
お願い岡部さん
I don't know you. Her voice and the way she talked. I realized that the girl called Shina Kaguri was. I looked close and I saw I recognized the face.
そんな君は
I'm so fucking confused.
かがりは
What the? What's going on here? Why? Why do you? Why? What? Why the other one do you look different? Why? Okay, I'm so fucking confused.
来るな
What? What? I quickly motioned to Suza to keep her
こっ
distance.
ちは任せろお前はマユリを頼むマユリの傷は大丈夫なのか
Why?
確認してくれ
She looked upset but did as I asked. She went back to Mayuri and started to look at her wounds. Mayuri was covering her face and trying not to look at the
大丈夫
bodies.
マユ姉さんの傷は深くない
No, it's just a small cut. I relaxed a little bit when I heard that.
よかったママ 無事だったんだ。
Are we gonna get an explanation of why you look like that?
よかった。
Kaguri's voice was a whisper as I cradled in my arms, and then she slowly closed her eyes. Her breathing got weaker.
しっかりしろ。君はなんで。
大丈夫。心配しないで。私、こうなっても痛くも苦しくもないから。
Yeah, I still don't get that either.
いつも神様の声が聞こえるの。
Just go to sleep now.
君は痛くならないよ。苦しくならないよって。だから全然岡部さんには伝えて。本物は何も知らないです。
Good.
3年前から
What?
ヨーロッパに留学中。
Wait. Has she been what? Then it was in the other world line. What? If she's been in Europe for 3 years, changing the world line later wouldn't affect that, would it? Oh, I'm so confused. What? Like, I'd get like with the Suzuha one when she went to the past that changed things because she actually went to the past. Answering the Kaguri phone or not answering it in the other world line, how would that affect anything 3 years ago? What? I'm so confused.
教授が私を秋葉原へ送り込むために裏で手を。本物は本当に。
Good, I'll go into Europe and take care of her.
知らない。
教授だって。
I'm so confused. Like, I figured like she's just gonna look like someone, but they're still here. Because that would just make more sense. It still doesn't make sense why they made her look like Yuki. Why? What purpose? Like, just to infiltrate Suzuha? But they already knew where it was. You didn't need that. What did she mean?
この世界線では本当は来年なんですよ。
I got a year. He's not gonna meet her in a year.
本物が出会うのは。
Kakuri opened her eyes a little more and looked toward the time machine toward Mayuri and Suzuha. I feel like something's missing here.
大丈夫。きっと。
No.
本物も橋田さんのこと
She won't.
好きになります。私と同じように。
I'm sorry. I actually feel sorry for you.
言っちゃった。誰にも内緒ですよ。
Just why? There's so many questions. At this time, her smile still shining in her eyes, they closed for real. With one final shudder, the strength left her body. Like, I'd be screaming, why? Why do you look like her? I'm so lost. Her life faded away in my hands. There was so much I wanted to ask her. Why had she appeared before us using that name? Yeah, that too. There were so many things I didn't understand. But Sheena's Kaguri life ended at that moment. I could give 2 fucks of why she used that name. Why did they make her look like her? That's the bigger question. Why does she talk like her? How does she talk like her?
ほかりおじさん、かがりは無事。
Oh no, she's dead. I came back to my senses when I heard her voice. If I told her about Kaguri's death, it would cause her a lot of mental stress. Oh, she's just taking a nap. That wasn't a good idea right now. I needed to do something about the time machine as fast as possible.
大丈夫だ。この子は俺が病院へ連れて行く。
Just gonna dump her body somewhere? I slung Kaguri's bloody body over my shoulder and stood up. Oh my god.
鈴葉は急いでタイムマシンを停止させて偽装しろ。
もう遅いよ。
Oh, hey, Leskinen. Before I could open the door, a huge shadow appeared from within.
教授。
He wasn't that. Susan, you had a gun. Just shoot him. But he must have taken a lot of damage to the head because his face was the color of clay and one of his eyes wasn't focused.
すぐにここは戦場になる。
God.
アメリカもロシアも日本も動き出してしまった。一度回り出した歯車はもう止められない。
If you remove the time machine, it does.
カガリがもっと早く我々に報告していれば、ここまで事態は悪化することもなかったものも。
Luskin knew about Kagure. Well, yeah, she said the professor. Which meant that I was right. But Susan spoke before I
そう
could.
か。お前が教授か。かがりを洗脳したのはお前だな。
そう、あなたはそういう人だったんですか。
別にこの私が何かしたわけじゃない。
Luskin didn't try to
む
deny
し
it.
ろ10年ほど前、路頭に迷っていた彼女を助けて、ここまで育つよう援助してあげたんだよ。
Why?
援助って普通に生活してたら彼女がこんな風になるはずないじゃないか。
Why didn't she stay under their control? What? Why not the other world line? Were you not evil in that world line?
そんなに怒鳴らないでくれないか。頭が悪そうにいたもんだ。
Oh, I'm sorry. I got some medicine on me. You want some?
嘘じゃない。彼女は自分の方から私に接触してきた。整形までしてこの町に潜り込んだのも彼女のプランだよ。
Why?
何でも頭の中の神様が全て教えてくれるんです。
So the people in the future told her that you need to look like Yuki when you go to the past, after a certain amount of years. You also need to get your voice changed.
最初私はホームレスの子供が食べ物欲しさにくだらない作り話をしているんだと思ったん
This
だよ
thing's
ね。
getting more and more confusing.
彼女の脳や記憶を調べてみると非常に興味深く素晴らしいことが分かった。
She's beyond fucked.
その神様というのはね、
And even as his face twisted in pain, he
そ
smiled
の
proudly.
神様というのはなんと未来の
So he was the doctor?
2036年の私だったんだよ。
He was the doctor at the orphanage. That's undercover as shit.
あんたは
It didn't even look like him.
本当のマッドサイエンティストだ。
Air raid? Suddenly I heard a siren down below. Just hearing the sound made me feel uneasy. I never heard a sound like it before.
なんだこれ。
ゲリラ攻撃情報、ゲリラ攻撃情報。当地域にゲリラ攻撃の可能性があります。屋内に避難し、テレビ、ラジオをつけてください。
Ah, it just sounded like an air raid siren to me. I heard the announcement coming from the speakers on the street. Oh, Jesus. One type of the instantaneous national alert, J alert system in case of an emergency like a large-scale disaster or armed attack. The J alert system uses communication satellites to automatically activate all disaster warning systems in the country and warn the populace when activated. The J alert triggers a series of loudspeakers and sirens placed all around the country. There are several different types, such as an emergency earthquake alert, Tokai earthquake alert, tsunami alert, eruption alert, weather alert, ballistic missile alert, air raid alert, guerrilla and special forces attack alerts, and a terrorism alert. A guerrilla attack. I could hear several helicopters in the sky above me. Their engines were clearly more powerful than the ones the news media chopper in the media's news choppers. I recognized the sound from the time I'd heard them in the wartime world line. Oh, you can feel fucking military helicopters. Those things are so powerful. And I love them.
ここは間もなくタイムマシンを奪い合う戦場と化す。
Thank God I'm getting in it right now.
第三次世界大戦が
まさかこの町の住民も自分たちの都市の中心から世界戦争が始まるとは
Most people wouldn't assume that.
夢にも思っていないだろうね。
And then Lescan leaned up against a wall and sat down and stopped moving. Whether he passed out or gone into a coma from the brain damage, I didn't have time to find out. Probably passed out because he's in the world line of 2036. It was like the air in the city had gotten heavier. That's how it felt. A chill ran down my spine. I'd spent a month at war in that world line, and the same future was about to begin here. Something like that couldn't happen in Japan. It was like a TV or a movie, but a TV show. But I knew instinctively that it wasn't fiction. There had been signs 6 months ago, here in Akihabara, in Tokyo, in Japan. Spies and soldiers from all around the world had been working in the shadows. So I'd known this would happen. By refusing Suza's request and choosing the world line where Mayuri survived, I doomed over 5 billion people. I was the one who chose this. It was me. Yes? I looked and saw that Suza was pushing Mayuri into the time machine. And leave me here? No! Suza had no idea that Kagari was already dead. She leapt in the cockpit. I raced over and grabbed the hatch and looked inside.
過去ってまさか1年前あの日へ行くのか。
急ってわけじゃないんだ。それにあの日へは飛ばない。
She was typing in commands in the console as she spoke.
あの日へは飛ばないってどういう。
ちょっとまゆ姉さんを借りるよ。
What? Mayuri was already strapped in a seat, just like I was when I jumped a year ago with Suza.
マユリ。
I heard fierce gunfire and screams in the distance, and there's a civilian dying. Looked like the spies had started fighting each other. Oh, okay, no. They haven't killed the civilians yet. Kagari may have wiped out a force from one nation, but an army from an entirely different one was still coming. Mayuri handed me a smartphone. I took it without thinking.
ちょっと待て。なんでお前が行くんだ。お前が行ったって結果は同じだ。何もできない。
Okay, that's actually kind of dickish.
それに今飛んだら戻ってこられない。違うの。オカリンじゃダメなの。これはね、マユシーの役目だから。わからない。俺にはさっぱりわからない。頼む、降りてくれマユリ。お前まで因果の輪から外れたら、俺は何のためにこの世界線を選んだのか。オカリン。
Mayuri gently rubbed my cheek, and she smiled sadly. She softly pushed my shoulder. Rude. It threw me off balance and made me let go of the hatch. Then the hatch closed. It was too late. By the time I grabbed back on it, the hatch was sealed shut. The door control was biometric. Only Suza could open it now. The time machine started to roar. The pale light began to gather around it. I'd seen this before in the Alpha World line. I'm about to die. Just then, a group of armed men kicked down the door and swarmed onto the roof. They were highly trained military operatives. And then an attack helicopter descended from the sky. The soldiers started to shoot at it, but the helicopter seemed to ignore it as it slowly hovered in place. I realized the powerful rocket launchers on either side of its body were aimed at me, no, at the time machine. It couldn't be. But my worst fears were realized. Oh, goodbye. The helicopter fired its rockets. Everyone on this roof is dead. They headed straight at the time machine. It was still there, shrouded in light. Oh, someone died. The second I yelled, a powerful blast blew me back. Time machine did not get away. The next thing I knew, I was crawling on the ground. I saw that some of the soldiers had already joined the mound of corpses on the ground. And some of them were still shooting at the helicopter. Yeah, that's gonna work, buddy. I stood up as fast as I could. My whole body felt like it was on fire. My skin was burnt in places. Yeah, you'd been blown up! My clothes had been blasted off. No, my own problems didn't matter. What about the time machine? I looked up toward where the time machine had been. If it had jumped in time, it should have been able to avoid the rockets, but... yeah, it didn't make it. There were scraps of metal everywhere. I could tell they belonged to the time machine. Had I not made it in time?
Suzuha. Mayuri?
That thing blew up. I looked around in the shroud of smoke.
Mayuri? どこだ? Mayuri! Suzuha! 返事をしてくれ!
There were bodies everywhere, but I couldn't see Suzuha, Mayuri or Suzuha. I couldn't even tell if they were alive or dead. There were no bodies, so they'd simply vanished. After that, things went far beyond my power to control. So is it going to end up being like they made it to the past, or is it just that they're dead? Brutal battles took place on the ground and sky of Akihabara. I'd seen footage of war in the Middle East on the news. Those same scenes were playing out in Akihabara. I managed to slip through the chaos of the battle and barely escaped Radikan with my life. I had no choice but to leave Kaguri's body. I took the long way back to the lab so that no one would find me. By the time I arrived, the sun had set and the night sky was illuminated with explosions and tracer rounds. The whole of Akihabara was like someone had poked a beehive. Oh, Jesus. The lights were out in the lab. Who's gonna kill me here? Oh, it's probably Daru, actually. That he's, like, planning. But inside I found Daru, Maho, and Ferris staring into the TV and computer monitor. Oh, I wasn't wrong.